to 5 after, Larry, then keep going to respect everybody's time.
That sounds good.
Larry, if you don't mind, I'll just introduce you to everybody, if that's okay.
Yep, sounds good.
I got more. The area manager.
Out of respect for everybody's time, we're going to start our presentation. And what I'd like to give you is sort of an overview of what we're trying to accomplish with today's session. A high percentage of you have been introduced to Insight PRM. We have a number of tag members using the Insight PRM, and we have one particular tag member who spent a fair amount of time trying to develop processes and procedures of getting the maximum utilization out of the program, which is Voice Smart Networks. It has become an integral part of what we do, and it has been coupled to the tag marketing program. And what we're going to do here today is give you somewhat of an oversight, an overview. Not going to get into too many details, but give you enough information to hopefully show you a tool that will increase your number of sales and make the lead generation process a little bit easier for you. Larry Dillon, who's been a staunch tag supporter, also a sponsor of the tag organization, and a good, healthy friend and advisor to a number of the issues that we've been working with here over at TAG. So I want to welcome Larry, give him an opportunity to start this presentation and give you an idea of what he's spent a lifetime trying to develop and has developed. Larry?
Thanks, Dale. Always a pleasure to work and participate with TAG, and we look forward to working with you guys, in the at it and I say, I've got to get X amount of customers every month to break even. And I don't start making money until we get after that. So, and it really boils down to that. People's average sale is pretty much fixed. Their closing ratio, you might be able to bounce that up maybe 5 or 10%, but it's always that activity level. And I think we've all either said it to ourselves or had our sales reps say to us, gosh, I could sell more if I could just get in front of enough people. So it really boils down to that. And lead management is all about setting more appointments. And I've been doing this for 26 years. And when you sell sales leads and organizations have problems converting leads into appointments, that's a challenge for us. So, and it is one of the biggest, according to our surveys, one of the biggest things that keeps business owners and managers up at night. There's 3 reasons that companies fail to set enough appointments. Number 1, the technology. CRMs or customer relationships management, great at managing customers. In the lead industry, we call CRMs lead killers. Number 2, most companies that we work with, we see really don't have a formal process in place for managing leads. And number 3, they don't really manage the lead flow. They sort of have an erratic behavior when it comes to having leads that come in the top end of the funnel. So let's talk about the lead conversion process. I talked about we're going to talk about the process in a second, but most companies don't have a process in place. What you should know is that the top companies, and I'm talking about the 0.1% of all companies that we work with, are beginning to get this 7 to 10 step lead conversion process in place. The biggest mistake that I see with people is they have a one and done attitude. You get a lead from the internet, you get a lead from Wendover, you get a lead from Insight, you get a lead from your manufacturer. A salesperson makes one phone call, they get a negative response, and then the lead is thrown in the dumpster. The most successful companies have sort of a 7-step process for converting that lead into an appointment. And when I go to trade shows, every single trade show I go to, someone will come up to me and tell me this Hail Mary story of how their initial conversation with a prospect was not interested. They had a process in place and they were able to effectively convert that lead into a deal. In fact, the biggest deal I had in 2013 came from a web lead. It took me 17 attempts to get that person back on the phone. And when I finally got that fellow back on the phone 3 months later, he said, you know what? I reached out to about 4 companies. You're the only one that's stuck in there. You've got the deal. Turns out he just happened to go on vacation and just got real busy. So we want to have a process in place so that every response we've got a strategy in place, and we always want to schedule a follow-up. And this is the kind of things that a PRM or prospect relationship management has in place. This is something in 2014 that we're going to be working with our clients with, and that is to formalize the lead process. So this is just one track of the lead process. So for example, let's say when a lead comes in, whether that's from Wendover, Insight, your manufacturer, the strategy is we make a phone call and pair that with an email. One thing you may want to take a note of right now is that an email is twice as likely to be opened if it's immediately preceded by a phone call. Now, the challenge with a CRM is this process right here to document the call, send the email, schedule the follow-up, and all the necessary things just in this process right here often takes 2 minutes to 4 minutes. In our PRM, we've narrowed this time frame down to less email, and that email might say something like 5 mistakes people make when they buy a phone system. If that is in the subject matter, you left the voicemail and they open the email, especially if they've opened the email within a few minutes, that is a tell. If we were playing poker, that's a big tell. That means I'm going to really pursue this person. So let's say if they didn't open the email, I might call a week, maybe 2 weeks later, depending on where the lead came from, and maybe send another email. If they open the email, this is indicating, hey, let's call them again, and that might be a day or two later, and let's send like a nice mailer, like Tag has got great marketing material. Why not put a postage stamp on that and send that out? And then the objective from here is obviously to set the appointment, or if you don't set the appointment, what is your next strategy? That might be, hey, listen, we called, they opened the email, we sent the mailer. When we're in that neighborhood, we're going to drop in. Now, this might be different for everyone, but you should have a written policy that if they open the email, you didn't get the appointment, what's the next step? So each stage of the lead process has got sort of a next step, a next follow-up date. And what we often find is that if you don't have a written process in place, you wind up with a lot of orphan opportunities. Current research indicates, again, that 90% of leads are not followed up with properly. And our PRM, which is Prospect Relationship Management, if you see a demo of it, it is really, really difficult to get an orphan opportunity because we've got so many checks and balances in there, because it's strictly designed to do one thing, and that is help you set more appointments. The best practices for appointment setting is to track the responses, and there's a bunch of things that you want to track. The key metrics, and I think Dale's going to talk about that later on, in converting leads to appointments are the following. It takes a number of calls to get the prospect on the phone, and that results in a conversation. So you want to manage how many dials did we make, and then what percentage of dials resulted in conversation. When you talk to the top appointment setters in the country, which I have the opportunity of doing that in all different industries, if you ask them if there were 10 at the top, when I say top, I mean these are people that are 1 in 1,000, 1 in 500. The first thing they'll always say is, I develop a relationship. Relationships come from conversations. And then the second metrics you want to have is, how many conversations on average does it take to get an appointment? And those are some of the things that you want to track. As well as tracking, did the prospect open the email? Did I have a conversation? Did they download an ebook? Tag has got lots of wonderful content that you have access to. Why not allow them to download that information, but you got to have a way of tracking it. In our PRM, all of this stuff is tracked in one place. So if we get 2 hits, 2 activities, 2 responses, that we know to go in for the kill. So the key is, the number one reason that sales reps will fail to meet quota this year is failure to set enough appointments. And let's take that a step further. If I set 20% more appointments this year in my organization, guess what? My sales are going to go up 20%. 3 things that prevent us from hitting our goal in terms of appointments is technology. You got to have a PRM or something that's designed to help manage leads and convert them into process. We got to have that process in place, and we got to make sure that we have a consistent lead flow. And this is what our PRM is all about: a quick and easy way to do pre-call research, call documentation with minimum of clicks, tracking all the email opens, and lots of sales automation tools. And the other thing that we offer, again, is in 2014, we want to work with our clients to have a written, formalized process. So we have a
process of implementing, but wanted to share some of the things that we're looking at, some of the things that we've been successful with, and some of the things that we've not been successful with. The number one thing that doesn't set appointments is that when a salesperson doesn't make a phone call, when they don't follow up on the information that we give them, it's very, very difficult to be successful. And managing salespeople, being a salesperson for the last 35 years, we know what the challenge is of motivating, directing, and getting somebody to get on the phone and actually do what they're supposed to do. This is the one unique feature that Insight has that no other program that we've looked at gives us this ability. That are your salespeople actually making the phone call? And over the years, I've used Wendover, I've used CoStar, I've given them all kinds of leads and so forth, and I get, well, yeah, I called it, but there's nothing really, there was nothing really good there, I wasn't qualified. I get every excuse you can imagine, and what I'm really getting is this. Now, this is a call report. These are the salespeople that we have here. And when you look at this call report that comes to you every Monday, what's it telling you? It's telling you your guys are not making the phone calls. And this is the first thing you got to start with, and this is the reason that you buy this program versus any other lead generation program that you have. Is that if they're not going to make the phone calls, they're not going to be able to follow up, they're not going to be able to make the notes, they're not going to be able to implement. So it comes down to a real core issue is salespeople are salespeople. They get busy, they get distracted, high percentage of our multitask, they have all kinds of different things going simultaneously. They always take the least path of the resistance. And you know what? If someone said to you, as an owner of the company, sit on the phone 2 hours a day or an hour a day and make phone calls, you won't do it. It's not the most pleasant thing to do until you get into a real rhythm and you start seeing success. And this is one of the biggest things that we were fighting initially is the time. So we went back into the time management web share that TAG gives us and time segmentation. And we have each salesperson has a particular time of the day that they do a particular thing. We are now ramped up where we are doing it, trying to get to a point where at least 1 hour to hour and a half of phone calls of Insight RPM. However, one of the things that we look at, which is what TAG gives us, is that this is the other thing that's the most critical thing about this Insight RPM, is that we go into the database and we look at every company within the San Diego and the Orange County area that their lease is expiring in 11 months. That's when we start tracking these customers. And we put out everything on the first Tuesday of the month. And so these went out this morning. And this is one of 6 leads that came back to us this morning. This one, I have this one up for your perusal because this one we already called on. And you'll notice it says, hey, the tag is giving you this. We have the gentleman's email address. We have their phone number. We have their name. This rep is Michael, which is one of our salespeople. And this is 11 months out. And this particular person looked at the tag marketing program piece that went out to them. Get on it, and we find out they have 4 locations and an appointment's been set. Now, this is 11 months out. This is what's real critical. We get to 11 months out, we follow up, and the first thing we do is that at 11 months, we send out a direct mail piece, and we don't make a phone call at that particular time. When it gets to the 11th month, this is the email that we send out. One call does it all. We are experts in VoIP, IT, connectivity, CTAP, call center, security systems, managed services, structured cable, and VoIP. It gives them a real good overview of what we do as a company. And that's the piece that this particular lead happened to open and looked at it 3 times. Because what we do is we are looking for not only telephony leads, but we're looking for IT leads. We're looking for managed services. We're looking for cloud opportunities. And this gives a real good overview. Now, that lead, that direct mail piece goes off, and then on the 10th month, this is what they get. And when they get on the 10th month, we now have a new crop of companies coming in that in 11 months, their leases should be expiring. And why we track it this way is that if someone's lease is expiring, there's a probability they may move. And even if they're going in and renegotiating their lease, it's usually a time where someone will, in fact, take a look at their technology. So we let this one go, and then we rely on the leads coming back. Like this one we got, today. We rely on these, and we know those have to be phone calls, and we make those phone calls. And then in the 9th month, another one goes out, not wasting your time. And all the time, trying to understand when they get these, if in fact they are thinking about moving, right, they're going to start looking at their technology. And then on this 8th to the 7th month, our emails, and then we start calling. We typically will start making the phone calls starting in about the 7th month. Now, Larry's company, every couple months, they send out what they call their hot leads. These are leads that people are in fact going to be moving, or close to moving. They pretty much determine they're going to move, and everyone jumps on that along with everybody else in the industry, all right? Well, before those hot leads come out, I've had 5 to 6 contacts with that company. I've had emails to that company, I've had phone calls to that company, and I think I would be put in a better position than anybody else following up on this particular lead. All right? So we take the information out of the PRM, we couple it with the tag marketing program, and we follow up on it. And every month, every salesperson, it's a percentage of all the companies within the area. So their lists are growing each and every month. So every month that goes by, I have a increase to the list that the marketing program goes out. And this is in addition to some of the silos that we put together and all the different pieces that we have leaving our facilities out to the marketplace. Now, cold script. Now, what we do is this call comes in, we make our calls, and what we do here is that we try, we're managing about 50%, that once a week, all the salespeople get in a room and we all start making phone calls together. Bring in some pizza, we make the phone calls, I'll make some phone calls with them, they'll make some phone calls, we'll look at each other, we get comfortable on what we're saying, how we're saying, and what we're doing. But the script is the same script that's on our website. Hi, Dale Stein from VoiceSmart Networks. I need to get hold of John. Is he available? Well, you know what? That 80% of the time will get me to John. All right. Thank you for moving through, but I got John's voicemail. So I got his voicemail. I go back to where I have it. I need to speak with him. Could you please overhead page him, or can you have someone find him? So I'll sense of urgency. And this is another whole class that we teach of how to get past the gatekeeper. Right? Who's this? Brian Stewart, president of my company, has asked me to call John. If this is not a convenient time, that's okay. Can you give me to somebody who has his calendar? Because I need to get hold of him today, hopefully no later than 4 o'clock. All right? So each time that I go back, I can't get to him. I'm going to try to get him to the phone, aren't I? And I finally get up to the company name and say, hey, Brian Stewart, the CEO of my company, has asked me to give you a call, John. I need to speak with him, and with him, as it's rather urgent. Is it okay? It's okay if he's not there. Can you let me know when he is going to be there, or can you transfer me to his cell? Now, you'd be surprised at how many times if you go through this process, you'll get transferred out to his cell. Or can I have his cell number? And they will sometimes give you cell numbers. All right? And here again, this is another class. I just want to go through this real quick. What the cold script is all about. And then I finally get him on the call. John, this is Dale from VoiceSmart Networks. Ryan Stewart, the president of my company, has asked me to give you a call, and he's talking about some changes that are occurring within your organization. I get a slight hesitation. Are you in the process of moving? Are you looking to add another location? Are you bringing on new executives? I go down through that process. Because you have to understand, this is a company list that we're calling here that their lease is coming up in 6 to 7 months, and you know what? They may be contemplating, and you'll be really surprised. So you know what? We aren't thinking of that. All right. I've had all kinds of responses to this. I have responses like, well, we are, but nobody knows that. How'd you get this information? All right. Or they'll say, yeah, we're sort of thinking about it, in the process. They've received 4 or 5 direct mail pieces from me. They've seen my name. I've made a call into them and so forth. And now I'm simply trying to go for the appointment. Let me ask you a question. If you're not doing anything with your telecommunications phone, voicemail, are you doing anything with your internet or your data networking? Well, every company out there is doing something with their data network. If they answer yes or the answer no, it doesn't matter. We say, hey, great, that's what I want to talk to you about. Can I get together with you Wednesday at 10:30 or would Thursday at 1:30 be more convenient? And you know what? It's just a matter of asking for the appointment. Is 100% of these people going to give me an appointment? No. But you know what? Here's what we do know. For every hour of phone calling, we will end up with an appointment. That's what we statistically average. That's what we do. The only thing we've done here, we've stacked the deck in our favor. Before I'm making these phone calls, they've received 11 months before they move, 10 months before they move, 9, 8 months before they move, and now they're starting to get a phone call from me, and they've seen my advertising program. And then we simply, move that forward and make the appointment and go from there. So I know this is on the website. Anybody who wants to take this into more detail, I strongly recommend his book to buy, Soar Selling, SOAR, by Dave Hibbard. Was one of our keynote speakers. His book finally came out, and it's an excellent read. Now, I also want to talk to you about door knocking. So we make that first phone call, we don't get through. That ever happened to anybody? You can't get through to somebody? Well, we have a real strong door knocking policy here. And this is also written up. I'm not going to go through it. It's on what we're going to do here is everybody who attended this, we will send out the door knocking prospecting process. And what that is we mail the guy 4 or 5 times, we place the phone call, and now we go knock on their door. And we have a full script of how we knock on the door. And we then have, here's the 3 emails that go out. We knock on the door, we send an email, and we say, John, this is Dale Stein from VoiceWire Networks. I happened to be at your facility the other day. I talked to Catherine, your girl at the front office, and then we have a scripted email that goes into some of the technology. And I noticed that you have an older technology because we look at what kind of phone they have. And if it's a Cisco, we have a different presentation. If it's a ShoreTel, a different presentation. If it's a Nortel, a different presentation. A Panasonic, whatever system they have out there, we have a different email that will go out to them depending upon what we're trying to accomplish with that account. And once again, now they say, well, here, the guy emailed me 4 or 5 times, called me, didn't return his phone call. He stopped in my office, right? I got an email sitting here saying, maybe I should talk to him. And then I call back after I call up on that email, and then we call, and then we email another email. And then the third email that finally goes out, when you look at the scripting that we're going to send to you, the third email says, hey, John, I know you're a busy guy. I'm a busy guy. We've been in business for 30 years. I would not waste your time or my time if I did not believe we had a value statement and a value ROI for your company. You owe it to yourself and to your employees to spend 15 minutes with me. I know you're busy. Here's a Microsoft Outlook. If the time that's on this Outlook is not convenient, please change it. I will accommodate you. So when you finally get down to that, when you go through that process, you think you have a higher probability of having an opportunity to get an appointment. The answer to that is absolutely yes. The challenge that we run into, the challenge that I run into, I get the salespeople to do the 11th, the 10th, the 9th, and the 8th. That's real easy to do, but that took 3 months of figuring out how to get them to put their list together, get them into the list, get them to do it. And now that they see that it's in there, they don't have to do anything because it's preset for them. Whether they get up in the morning or don't get up in the morning, that piece goes out the first Tuesday of every month. They see that they're now getting emails coming back where people are interested, and they're following up on those because those are a little bit better call to make than a cold call email. All right? But then it's making that phone call, it's going out and visiting the site, it's then followed up with the email, like Larry said before, if you don't have a documented process, if the salespeople can't see that documented process, and if you don't have any way of checking that process, and oh, by the way, every email that is sent out by every salesperson, I'm CC'd on it, and when I get to a point where I'll go 3 or 4 days and I don't see any emails coming in from one of the salespersons, I sit down with the sales guy and say, okay, what's happening? What are we doing here? I know some emails are going out. Now listen to some of the excuses. I listen to where they're at. You know, they're saying, well, Dale, I got 5 deals I'm trying to close this week, and I got to get those put in. I just haven't had time. And I understand that because they will cycle like everybody else. But at least I'm able to sit down and give them some assistance and some motivation and say, hey, you know what? Just really need to get back on the street. You really need to start making some phone calls and so forth and so on. Because I know they're making phone calls because I go look at my reports on Monday mornings. If I see zero on the reports and I see no emails going out that are customized off the templates, what's that telling me? And the sales guys have gone into shutdown for some reason, and I at least have that opportunity now to go out and take it. The Inside PRM, in my 35 years of doing this, is like one of the best programs that has allowed us to put this together. And it's based on, I get reporting, I get good information off of it, and at least gives me a tool to determine whether or not my guys are utilizing it or not utilizing it. I've had a lot of times where I've listened to salespeople tell me, this isn't working, it doesn't, you know, the lists aren't any good and everything else. But you know what? We had no way of tracking whether they're even making the phone calls or not making the phone calls. Now, the Inside PRM, there's all kinds of different things that you're going to be able to access, and you really need to take time. The one thing that they do for us is I bring in a new salespeople, a person, they sit down, they go through all the training, they get them up and running. No matter how many times I've called, no matter how many times I've had someone repeat it, they're always there to walk somebody through the program. So if you're not using the program, it's because you don't want to use the program. So that's pretty much where we're at. Ryan is on this call. I'm on this call. We're here to help you. Those of you who are not using the TAG marketing program, shame on you. There's no reason not to. Here's what I tell everybody. Go hire an 8th grader and have them put that program together with you. Have them talk to AJ, pay him minimum wage, and that 8th grader will get your marketing program up and running within 3 or 4 days. All right? Real simple to do, but you got to go do it. Once you have that in there, you then need to get up on the Inside PRM and at least start with getting the list of companies that their leases are coming up in 11 months, at least get a direct mail program going out to them. And then take the time to teach your salespeople scripting, how to follow up on a phone call, need what we need to do. So I'm going to open this up now to questions. And, we've got a pretty good crowd here. You're all pretty vocal. Anybody has any kind of input, or has anybody tried to do any of the program talk about?
Hey Dale, this is Ruth Ann Black. I had investigated Inside PRM a little bit. We're fairly new, so we're taking one step at a time, but I did look into it. And it doesn't seem that they cover our geographic area.
Oh, you know what, Larry? Larry, I'm going to let you answer this one.
Okay, now, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Ruth Ann.
Oh, hi, Ruth Ann, it's Larry.
Yeah, we're like central Pennsylvania. I know you cover Philadelphia, you cover Pittsburgh, you cover Baltimore.
Yeah.
But we're sort of, we're north of Baltimore.
There are some things, yeah, I can talk to you, Ruth Ann, I can talk to you offline if you give me a call directly. There's some new programs that we've developed that can help you get started in those areas. The platform is available to you, Ruth Ann, even though we might not have any data for that area. You can still use the program to help manage the leads that you do get. But please give me a call. You've got my cell phone number on the screen, 213-1163. And
different than what I'm looking at. What is it,
610-613-1163. Give me a call. We're rolling out some new programs for areas like central Pennsylvania that I can talk to you about
the Insight PRM and start managing it through a program of managing your leads. Okay.
Yep. And Ruth Ann, there's some other stuff I can do to enhance that. One of the things that I wanted to touch on, Dale, the marketing stuff that you have laid out there is absolutely like 1/10 of 1% of companies utilize that type of marketing strategy, and those are the ones that are very profitable. Just by implementing those steps, the tag marketing program, it's going to put you ahead of 99.9% of your competitors, and I think that's for me. If I was in your business, that would be an easy thing to implement. Like you said, get an 8th grader to put the stamps on it.
Get an 8th grader, have them call AJ, they'll put it together for you. There's no excuse not to have that up and running. So
I had. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Hey, Dave Wyman, I noticed you're registered. Just real fast, brief, because you and I have had some conversations. You know, I know, you know, the sales process sometimes becomes a little difficult. I mean, can you see the value we're trying to do here, or do you have any input whatsoever for this, Dave? I always appreciate your input.
You probably don't want it right now, Dale. Due to sound quality issues, I was not able to get, I got the thank you screen.
Oh, okay.
so sorry, but, you know, I do value your input, and quite sincerely, most of your stuff is very well thought out. I've been following the Phone Suite stuff, and it's really good. I mean, it's well done, so.
Okay, perfect. And then, anybody else, you know, Paul, have you looked at this program? Is this the first time you looked at it?
Me, Paul Moffat?
Yes, I'm sorry.
There's a couple Pauls in there. I have looked at it. As you know, Dale, I'm just starting up new here, but I've been looking at it pretty seriously. So, because I have used telemarketing in the past, as you know, and it's been really quite effective.
Okay.
So adding this dimension.
We do have a tag advantage. Yeah, there is a tag advantage. You get this thing for less money, and you're able to pay for it. You don't have to pay for it up front. It's paid on a, Larry, correct me wrong, I think it's paid on a quarterly basis at a fairly substantial discount.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Danielle's been lucky. So.
Yeah, Jerry.
Hey, how are you? We've been on RPM now 30 hours. We actually started yesterday. I have a question. How do you implement, and I don't know if you're using TigerPaw, but using this CRM and compared to, you know, the system CRM that we have in place? Do you use both, or give me some ideas on that?
Yeah, I'm using both right now. I mean, all my direct mail pieces are going out through TigerPaw in order to get the email that comes back and says, hey, this guy's opened it 3 times, all right? So right now, the email campaign goes out of that, but the guys are tracking PRM. Once we get that lead, if they're actually following that lead, they take the lead, they push it to the RPM so that they get their notices on their calendars, they get notices when they have to go, and when they go in there, I can sit down with them and take a look at the level of activity they're doing. So it is somewhat of a duplication, but not really. Is that you got to duplicate it? Is that once it goes out and the guys open it 3 times, then we take that 3-time open and go and start tracking it in the Insight PRM program. Does that make sense?
I might need to talk to you about it. I'm a little slow.
How do you merge it?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to you offline, but like I say, is that all the direct mail goes out to TigerPaw. And we take the information out of Insight RPM, load it into TigerPaw, and mail it out. And then when someone opens it the 3rd time, the tracking of that goes back into RPM. So we have the accounts in TigerPaw, we have the accounts in RPM. And the ones that are tagged in RPM are the ones that we're monitoring because we know that they've opened 3 times. And I can walk you through that.
Hey, Dale.
Yes.
Scott Hobbs.
Hey, Scott.
Hi. I guess a general question. Do
you were saying it's Tiger Paw. I was thinking that we would be using Atomic 8 Ball to send those out. Not that it really matters exactly, but just in general, am I wrong there?
No, it is Atomic 8 Ball, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, another question on the door knocking, which is really kind of a bit of the old, new again, but are you guys using that as an ongoing thing, or just as that last step as you reached out and touched them through these other emails and so forth?
Oh, there's a number of different campaigns going, okay? Is that, coupled with the, phone suite, when they're out looking at phone suite, they're also hitting the businesses and door knocking the businesses, or vice versa. If they're out going on their way to a business park, they'll hit and stop at the door knock hotel motels. And it looks like we're gonna close 4 more deals within the next 5 days, of hotel motels. But the other thing is that the door knocking is a combination of that. We door knock try to get at least 1 hour a day of door knocking, an hour and a half of follow-up phone calls and sending out emails on the door knocking. The Insight RPM, we're emailing out 11th, 10th, 9th a month, and if the leads come in from that, we call it. And on the 6th, 7th month, and we're just now getting to the 6th, 7th month, that we start calling those, we'll make a call, and then we'll go door knocking. Because we're finding that the door knocking has become pretty effective for us.
Primarily with the hotel motel, or with general
A
business?
combination of two. I mean, I got some guys that are just concentrating primarily on the hotel motel. I got some guys that are primarily concentrating on the hosted application, but they're intermixing both of them because they're trying to build their recurring revenue, and they know that when they do a hotel motel, we're getting not only getting the hotel motel, but we're getting the IP cameras, we're getting the Wi-Fi hotspots. So between those 3 things, those little deals are averaging, somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 a hit, and they're relatively quick transactions. And they know that 85% of every hotel motel they stop in, the switch is at least 15 to 20 years old. It's got to get changed within the next year. So they just want to make a stop, and then they start mailing those every month. And just say there's 2 ways that people buy our switch. They'll replace it before it crashes, and then when it crashes, they're only down for a week. Either way is okay with us.
Hey, Scott, one of the things that I wanted to interject is with this system, I had my 15-year-old nephew. I told you guys in this thing where he made the calls. It now tracks the emails that have been opened. So what we've been recommending to our customers is you can do a search in Insight PRM now for opens and a particular zip code. So Scott, if you have a rep that's going out to a particular zip code the night before, he can do a search for that zip code, and if there are any open emails in that zip code, and then they can see it. If somebody's opened an email once or twice in that zip code, but you haven't been able to get them on the phone, that might be a good indication for them to knock on the door. And we've had clients who've called up and said, man, I got an appointment. It was actually in the same building. I would have had no idea that, this client down the hall had opened up 2 emails from us. Because it was like an inside sales rep had made the call, but they happened to be there on a sales call. So, Scott, if you give me a call, I can run you through that.
Okay, we'll do.
And guys, you have to understand, Larry's company, and, working with Jerry and Larry, these guys are doing everything they know how to do to help and facilitate. We share as much as we can share amongst ourselves to make this thing better. Because you know what? Here's what I found, is that it's just getting the programs implemented, making sure we understand the program, let alone the salespeople understand the program. It takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of effort. But boy, once you got it up and running, and it will be consistent for you without any question. And you got to sit down. We know what piece we're going to mail out on the 11th month, the 10th month, the 8th, 9th. We have a telephone scripted of what we're going to say on the telephone calls. We practice once every 2 weeks. We get in a room and we all call together just to bring some sanity to it. I mean, it gets everyone out of that phase of, geez, am I we're all sitting here helping each other, we get to discuss it, it works. You know, we're getting more appointments than we ever had before. You know, I mean, that could be a lot of things, but I think like this one here went out on the 11th month. This is tight, 11th month. And, you know, the call was made today. It's 4 locations. And we got the appointment. Went out, I mean, here, everyone, the thing that the kick I get out of people is like, well, how much does this cost? And you know what? The cost of this program isn't even here. All you need to do is sell 2 systems or, you know, you sell 2 systems in 12 months. It pays for it. Now, it's expensive if you don't make the friggin' phone calls. It's expensive if you don't follow up. It's expensive if you don't do anything with it. And you know, the 20 plus 30 years that I've been in the business trying to generate leads with this kind of format, because this is below the line prospecting, but you know what? We're getting appointments, right? We get appointments, we get sales. I mean, this thing is not here. This is, I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody not using this program. It makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, you know, fire a sales guy and just cut your sales force and just make sure the sales people you have are using this and you're paid for it. I mean, you know, I don't know what else to tell you.
I've got a guy who's the owner of the company. He's got his college kid who works from his dorm room a couple hours a day. He makes 60 dials an hour, 60 emails are going out, and the owner of the company, all he does is look for the opens.
Yeah.
And then he's got a clerical person that does the campaigns that you're talking about, has the clerical, you know, instead of, he said, I've converted the 2 hours a day of texting time that my receptionist normally has when she texts her boyfriend has been converted into revenue generating.
Yeah, you got to use the program. And you know, I know we're all going to be out in we're going to Nashville. So we put this presentation together, get you all looking at. There's 20-some companies on here, and really like to see how we start ramping up and get into some discussions with Larry as users at the convention to fine tune. Because there is so much that this program brings to you. All we do is sort of touch the highlights of this thing. So, and you know, that's all we can do at TAG is make you aware of programs and show you who's using the program and show you what we believe is the value of the program. Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. Gentlemen,
Yeah, this is
ladies.
Rita.
Oh, hi,
This is Rita. You guys are amazing.
How you know? That's our biggest fan there.
My little wheels are going.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thanks,
thanks for bringing
Rita.
us to the table today. All right.
Thanks, Rita.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Dale Stein speaking. May I help you?
Dale, Christian with Intronis Cloud Backup. Can I get you to back on?
Yeah, you know what? I'm late for a 1 o'clock. I'm running to it. Here, and I'm gone the rest of the week, and I appreciate you following up. Can you call me next week when I'm back in town?
I can do that. I'll give you a call next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
why people stop.